I don't know who God want to speak to today, but God's plan works like magic. The reason why Jesus could not lose was because he was in God's plan. Your trust in God will put you in his plan. The way God wants you to go, the way what God wants you to say, the time he wants you to say it, and how he wants you to say it. You will not be in God's plan if you don't understand the way God operates. Now look, David said, "In you, O God, I trust. Do not let me be ashamed," because David knows that God will never allow shame to rule over those that trust in him. So if you want to have a healthy relationship with God and walk in his plan and his purpose, you have to stop having your own imaginations, the way you want to think about, the way you want to do your own things, because the easiest way to stay in God's plan is to stop thinking about your own plans, is to stop having your own imaginations, is to stop thinking about the way you want it to go, the way you want this to work out, the life you want to build, the relationship that you want to have. You have to stop having your own plans and stay with God's plans, with God's rules, by trusting in him. That's how you move to God's plans, because your plans does not have your best interest in heart. You can plan for something that will destroy you. You can have a beautiful plan, but that plan will lead you to destruction. You can have amazing, gorgeous looking, very wonderful plan that will, innocently lead you to harm, to something that will lead you away from God, to something that will destroy your relationship with God, because the only person that adds meaning to your life is God. Every man, woman born into this earth is born broken. Whether you like it or not, whether you are born in a rich family, in a rich home, wherever you are born into, you were born broken. And as you keep growing, God begins to fill you up. Those broken pieces begin to rise again. That is the only way you can have a healthy living. The moment God steps back and does not show interest in your broken life, you will die. God has to show interest and stay in your broken life for your broken life to have meaning and purpose. And why you should stay in God's plan? Because when you stay in God's plans, you will have peace, comfortable, less worry, less stress, less frustration, less failure. When you stay in God's plan, you will have less stress, less complaint, less failure. Not that you will not have failures. Staying in God's plan does not mean you will not have bad days. Staying in God's plan does not mean you will not have difficulties. It means that difficulties does not have you. It means that failure does not have you. It means that death does not have you. It means that whatever that is happening in the society does not have you. But though they are close to you, but they don't have you because you are in God's plan. God's plan will keep you away from those things. Abraham was in God's plan. Abraham, he was in God's plan before God planned for him. So in order for God to plan for you, you have to be in God's plan. In order for God to have, peace and joy with you, you have to stay in God's plan, because outside of God's plan means failure, pain, less competence, more spiritual disintegration, more hardship, and less success. When you stay out of God's plan, out of God's zone, when you stop trusting in God, because the more you trust in God, the more you move into his plan. The more you believe in God, the more you move into God's plan. So if you don't trust in God, and if you are not in God's plan, you're going to have all these difficulties that I've just mentioned. They're going to have you. The difficulties that I've just mentioned are going to have you, because God can only get a plan for a person who is in his plan and his season. He cannot plan for you. He cannot plan anything for you if you're not ready to stay in his plan. He will only plan for you if you stay in his plan, in his purpose, in his will, in his directions, his movement. God has a movement, and that one movement is you have to accept everything he says. You can't debate and say, let me believe this one, and you have to accept every single thing that God says if you must stay in God's plan. Plans for those who planned to be planned for. God plans for those who choose to be guided by his plans. God does not force his plans. God does not force you to stay in his plan, in his will, in his purpose, in his direction, in his leadership. He only plans for people who were ready to stay in his plans. Job was in God's plan and God plans for him. Job stayed in God's plan. That's why Job could not fail. Job could not fail or lose anything because he was fully in God's plan. He was fully there. Despite the failure, the disappointment, the failure could not have him. The death could not have him. The disappointment could not have him. The backbiting, whatever the people were saying could not have him because he was in God's plan. When you are in God's plan, nothing evil can have you. Nothing bad can have you. Though you have a bad day, though you have difficulties, though you have some challenges, but they would not have you because you are in God's plan. God says, I know Abraham would teach his children to serve me because God knows that Abraham in his plan. You see, God will not trust you if you're not in his plans. You have to be in his plan and move with his things, with his plans, with his purpose, with his will, before he can plan for you and direct your path and move you to that one direction. I'm telling you the truth, if you step out of God's plan, you will fail. As a matter of fact, you're going to lose. You are going to have a lot of problem in your spiritual life. You are going to be disintegrated. Everything about you will be pieces. God is the only person that adds meaning to your life, to your disintegrated life. If you stay in God, that's when you can have something to present. That's when you can have something to add. That's when you can have something to live by or live with. What I'm trying to let you understand today, the purpose of this sermon is so that you can relax your mind. Forget about what you're thinking about, the way you want to move. Because Moses was thinking there are other way to do with this. He told God, there are other options. Why me? But God says, it's you. When God is choosing you, don't ask questions. So when you must stay, if you must stay in God's plan, you have to stop asking questions. Stop getting worried. Stop stressing. You have to stay in God's plan and stop asking questions and stop stressing yourself. Stay in his plan. If he cannot fail, that means he will not fail you. Just believe that. And today, I want to just pray for you that God will give you the spirit of understanding. It takes the spirit of God for you to understand what I've just said. The little message I've just tried to put in your spirit. It takes only the help of God for you to truly believe. And I ask that the Holy Spirit will fill you today, will comfort your broken pieces, and grant you the grace to move with the things of God, and grant you the grace to stop thinking, to stop worrying, stop trying to factor in how you want to go about your things, and grant you the grace to relax and stay in his own comfort zone so that he can plan for you. Like I said, God will only plan for those that stay in his plans, that want to be guided, that want to be directed with his plans. And if you are one today, I want you to share this video to 5 of your friends. By doing that, we can be able to reach to millions and thousands of people you may not know who will need this message. Be blessed.